The champagne flutes caught the sunset perfectly as Victoria's 30th birthday party reached its peak. From where I stood on the marina dock, watching through the chain-link fence, I could see the hired photographer capturing every moment of manufactured perfection. The yacht, some sleek white monster that probably cost more per day than most people's cars, bobbed gently in Marina del Rey, while 150 of my sister's closest Instagram followers celebrated her existence. I wasn't invited. Well, technically I was, but the invitation came 3 days before the event in a group text that read, "Jasper, you're obviously welcome, but it's mostly influencer people, so might be boring for you." Translation: please don't come and ruin the aesthetic with your Honda Civic energy. So I didn't go. Instead, I sat in my cramped Culver City apartment, scrolling through the live updates on Instagram stories. Tori Turns 30 was trending locally. The professional videographer had captured the moment when Dad gave his toast, champagne flute raised toward the golden California sky. To my beautiful daughter Victoria, who brings light and success to everything she touches, 30 years of pure joy. The live band played something expensive sounding. Fireworks exploded over the Pacific. The comments rolled in. Goals. Your family is everything. Living the dream. I took a screenshot of the yacht party and saved it to a folder on my phone labeled Evidence. Not that I plan to use it for anything. Just evidence. 3 weeks earlier, I'd sent a different kind of message to our family group chat. It was a Tuesday morning when I got the call from HR at Meta. Sarah Chen, the VP of Product, delivered the news with barely contained excitement. "Jasper, we'd like to offer you the Senior Product Manager position. You'd be the youngest person in company history to reach this level." The offer letter was beautiful in its simplicity. Base salary, $185,000. Stock options, $50,000 annually. Management of 12 direct reports. The kind of promotion that changes trajectories, that validates every late night and weekend I'd spent building products that millions of people use daily. I screenshot the offer letter and sent it to our family group chat, the Whitmores, with a message. "Got promoted to senior PM, pretty excited." Mom responded first, "Congrats." Dad took 3 days to reply, "Good." Tori never responded at all. I stared at that thumbs up emoji for probably 10 minutes. Congrats. Not congratulations, not we're so proud, not tell us everything, just congrats. Like I'd told them I'd remembered to take out the trash. I replied with my own thumbs up emoji and said nothing more. That was the moment something fundamental shifted inside me. Not anger. Anger would have been healthier. This was something colder, more calculating. A quiet recognition that I'd been playing by the wrong rules my entire life. See, the Whitmore family has always had a very clear hierarchy of achievement. At the top, anything Tori did. At the bottom, everything else. This wasn't new information, but somehow that thumbs up emoji crystallized 24 years of being the supporting character in my own family's story. Let me paint you a picture of what success looks like in the Whitmore household. When Tori hit 100,000 Instagram followers at 19, Dad threw a party at our house in Manhattan Beach. Catered, professional photographer. He invited neighbors, business associates, even the mayor showed up. The local newspaper ran a feature. Local teen builds social media empire. Mom framed it and hung it in the hallway next to Tori's high school diploma. Same year, I got a full scholarship to USC Engineering. Full ride. 4 years, $300,000 in savings for my parents. Dad's response when I showed him the letter. "Good job, keep your grades up." No party, no newspaper feature. The acceptance letter went into a drawer somewhere and was never mentioned again. When Tori launched her lifestyle brand at 22, which was essentially dropshipping cheap jewelry from Alibaba at 400% markup, Dad invested $50,000 without hesitation. Supporting entrepreneurship, he called it. The company folded 8 months later. We never talked about the $50,000 again. Same year, I graduated summa cum laude with a degree in computer science and a 3.97 GPA. Mom and Dad came to the ceremony but left during the reception because Tori had an important influencer event that couldn't wait. I found out later it was a sponsored post for teeth whitening strips. The pattern was so consistent it became invisible, like wallpaper you stop noticing. Tori's achievements were family achievements. Mine were personal accomplishments that happened to occur within the same gene pool. But here's what my family didn't understand about me. I've always been a systems thinker. I analyze patterns, identify inefficiencies, and optimize for better outcomes. It's what made me good at product management. And by age 24, I'd identified a critical inefficiency in the Whitmore family system. I was optimizing for the wrong metrics. I'd been trying to earn validation from people who had already decided I wasn't worth validating. I'd been playing a game where the rules were rigged and the referee was actively rooting against me. So I made a decision that would have seemed impossible to my younger self. I stopped playing their game and started playing my own. The beautiful thing about the tech industry is that it rewards actual results over social media presence. While Tori was buying followers and engagement pods, I was building products that solved real problems for real people. While she was optimizing for likes and comments, I was optimizing for user retention and revenue growth. And while my family was celebrating her latest brand partnership with a teeth whitening company, I was quietly becoming very, very good at making money. The promotion to senior PM was just the beginning. Within 6 months, I'd proven myself valuable enough that when a pre-IPO startup called with an offer to be their VP of product, Meta counter-offered to keep me. I took the startup job anyway. The equity upside was too good to ignore, and I'd learned something valuable. When you stop seeking external validation, you start making better strategic decisions. My family knew none of this, of course. To them, I was still just Jasper, responsible, boring, drives a Honda Civic, works some tech job. They'd ask about work at family dinners, and I'd say, "It's going well," and that would be the end of the conversation. Then Dad would turn to Tori and spend 20 minutes discussing her latest sponsored post with the enthusiasm of a sports commentator calling the World Series. I started keeping detailed records of these interactions. Not out of spite, well, not entirely out of spite, but because I wanted to understand the exact mechanics of how my family's attention economy worked. I created a spreadsheet tracking conversation time, follow-up questions, and genuine interest indicators across family gatherings. The data was fascinating. During Christmas dinner 2022, Tori received 47 minutes of focused family discussion about her brand pivot into wellness content. I received 3 minutes about my promotion to senior staff PM, which came with a $240,000 base salary and $120,000 in stock options. When I mentioned the stock options, Dad said, "That's nice, honey," and immediately asked Tori about her new apartment in West Hollywood. I wasn't hurt by this anymore. I was fascinated. It was like studying a completely alien species that happened to share my DNA. The real breakthrough came during year 2 of my independent strategy. While living on roughly $45,000 and investing everything else, I'd started learning about financial markets with the same systematic approach I brought to product development. I read everything, analyzed everything, tested strategies with small amounts before scaling up. The 2021 tech boom was like winning the lottery for someone who actually understood the technology behind the valuations. While Tori was spending her brand partnership money on designer clothes for Instagram posts, I was buying pre-IPO shares in companies whose products I helped build. While she was leasing a Mercedes to maintain her image, I was accumulating assets that would compound for decades. But here's the thing that really separated me from my family. I wasn't building wealth to impress anyone. I was building it for freedom. Freedom from caring what they thought. Freedom from needing their approval. Freedom from playing by their rules. By age 26, my investment portfolio had hit $890,000. My startup equity was looking increasingly valuable as acquisition talks heated up. I'd bought a duplex in Pasadena and was collecting rental income from the other unit. But I still drove the same 2015 Honda Civic and lived in the same 600-square-foot apartment in Culver City. My family's assumptions about my life remained perfectly intact. At Tori's 28th birthday dinner, a modest affair by Whitmore standards, only 30 people at Nobu Malibu, Mom asked if I was still happy in that little apartment. I said yes. Dad asked if I'd thought about upgrading from that old Honda. I said it ran fine. Tori didn't ask me anything at all. What they didn't know was that I'd already started looking at houses in Pacific Palisades. The startup acquisition happened on a Thursday in March. $800 million to a major tech company, and my 2% equity stake translated to roughly $16 million before taxes. After taxes and careful structuring through my financial advisor, I was looking at about $9 million in liquid assets, plus accelerated vesting on all my stock options from previous companies. I was 28 years old with a net worth of $11.2 million. I didn't tell my family. Instead, I bought a house. Not just any house, a stunning modern masterpiece in Pacific Palisades with 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, an infinity pool, and a view of the Pacific Ocean that made every sunrise feel like a personal gift from the universe. $4.2 million purchased with cash. I still didn't tell my family. I also bought a Tesla Model S as my new daily driver, kept the Honda for sentimental reasons, and added a Ducati Panigale V4 because I'd always wanted to learn to ride motorcycles. The 3-car garage could handle it. Still said nothing. But then I made a decision that would change everything. After 18 months of living like a tech millionaire in private while maintaining my struggling young professional facade in public, I decided it was time for one visible purchase. Something that couldn't be hidden or downplayed or dismissed with a thumbs-up emoji. I ordered a Bugatti Chiron. The 4 years that followed were the strangest of my life. Not because of what happened, but because of what didn't happen. I became invisible in plain sight. Every family dinner, every holiday gathering, every casual phone call followed the same script. "How's work, Jasper?" they'd ask, the way you ask about the weather. I'd give them real answers: promotions, salary jumps, stock options, acquisitions, and watch their eyes glaze over before pivoting back to Tori's latest Instagram milestone. By year 2, I stopped trying to make it interesting for them. "Got promoted again," I'd say, cutting my steak at Sunday dinner. "That's nice, honey," Mom would respond, already turning to Tori. "Tell us about the brand collaboration with that skincare company." And Tori would light up, launching into a 20-minute dissertation about free products and engagement rates while my $240,000 salary and equity package sat there like yesterday's newspaper. I learned to eat in silence and leave early. The Honda became my disguise. Every morning, I'd climb into that 2015 Civic, still reliable, still invisible, and drive to my corner office at one of the most prestigious tech companies in Los Angeles. I'd park between Teslas and BMWs, walk into meetings where 20-something millionaires made decisions that moved markets, then drive home to my 600-square-foot apartment in Culver City. My neighbors thought I was broke. My family thought I was boring. My bank account thought differently. Year 3 changed everything, though they never knew it. The startup opportunity came through a former colleague, a VP of product role at a pre-IPO company building AI infrastructure for autonomous vehicles. The kind of company that either crashes spectacularly or makes early employees generationally wealthy. 2% equity, the CEO told me during our final interview, plus $280,000 base. We're 18 months from IPO, maybe less if the market stays hot. I accepted on a Tuesday, told my family on Thursday. "I'm changing jobs," I announced at dinner. Dad looked up from his phone. "Another tech thing?" "VP of product at a startup." "Startups are risky," Mom said, passing the potatoes to Tori. "Are you sure that's wise? You had stability at your old job." "The upside potential is significant." "Well, just don't come crying to us if it doesn't work out," Dad said, already back to scrolling. "Tori, show them that video from your Malibu shoot." I watched Tori pull out her phone, watched my parents lean in with genuine interest as she swiped through behind-the-scenes footage of her posing with products she'd never actually use. The video had 12,000 likes. My career pivot, one that would either set me up for life or teach me an expensive lesson, earned a shrug and a warning. I drove home that night and made a decision that would define the next 18 months. Complete radio silence about work. Not out of spite, but out of curiosity. How long could I build something extraordinary while remaining completely invisible to the people who were supposed to know me best? The answer, it turned out, was longer than I expected. Month by month, the startup grew. We landed contracts with major automotive manufacturers. Our AI models outperformed competitors by margins that made industry publications take notice. My 2% stake went from theoretical to valuable to genuinely life-changing. I moved out of the Culver City apartment into a modest duplex in Pasadena, $850,000, purchased with cash from my stock portfolio gains. I kept one unit for myself, rented out the other. The rental income covered my living expenses, meaning my entire $280,000 salary could go straight into investments. My family never asked about the move, never visited the new place, never wondered how a guy making decent money in tech could afford to buy property in cash. Tori hit 500,000 followers that same month. They threw her a party that made the yacht celebration look modest, rented out the entire rooftop of a downtown LA hotel, hired a live DJ, brought in ice sculptures shaped like Instagram hearts. The event photographer's album had 847 photos. The family group chat exploded with congratulations, 67 messages in 6 hours. I bought my first rental property that week. Posted a photo of the keys in our group chat with the caption, "Officially a landlord. Investment property, number 1. 3 responses, Mom, Dad, nothing. Tori, that's cool, I guess. I screenshot the conversation and saved it to a folder on my phone I'd started calling Evidence. The acquisition news came on a Tuesday morning in March. I was in a quarterly business review meeting when our CEO walked in with champagne and an announcement that would change everything. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been acquired. $800 million, effective immediately. I sat there calculating while my colleagues cheered. 2% of $800 million, minus taxes, minus vesting schedules, minus all the complex mathematics of startup equity. The number that mattered, roughly $9 million in my pocket after Uncle Sam took his cut. At age 27, I was worth more money than my father had made in his entire career in real estate. More money than my family had spent on Tori's lifestyle brand launch, her yacht party, her Mercedes, and 5 years of Instagram-worthy experiences combined. I drove home in the Honda and sat in my duplex living room, staring at the acquisition paperwork. The silence felt different now. Not empty, but full of possibility. I called my family that night. "The company got acquired," I said when Dad picked up. "Oh, that's good, I guess. What does that mean for you?" "It means I did pretty well." "Well, good. Glad it worked out." "Hey, did you see Tori's latest post? She's partnering with that luxury watch brand. Really impressive engagement numbers." I hung up and opened my laptop, started browsing real estate listings in Pacific Palisades. If I was going to be invisible, I might as well be invisible in style. The house hunt took 3 months. I wanted something undeniable, the kind of property that would make a statement even if I never said a word. 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, infinity pool, floor-to-ceiling windows with canyon views. The kind of house that shows up in architectural magazines and makes neighbors gossip. $4.2 million, all cash. Closed escrow on a Friday. I moved in over a weekend, bringing almost nothing from the duplex except my clothes and the Honda. The new house swallowed my few possessions, leaving vast spaces that echoed with possibility. For 6 months, I lived like a ghost in a mansion. Worked from the home office, swam laps in the pool, learned to cook in the restaurant-quality kitchen. The neighbors probably thought I was house-sitting for some absent tech executive. My family still thought I lived in the duplex, still thought I drove the Honda because I had to, not because I chose to. Still thought my life was small and predictable and boring. The Bugatti idea started as a joke with myself. What would it take to get their attention? What purchase would be impossible to ignore? I spent weeks researching, not just the car, but the statement it would make. A Bugatti Chiron wasn't transportation. It was a declaration. It said things that words couldn't. That the quiet kid in the corner had been paying attention, learning, building something bigger than yacht parties and Instagram metrics. The order took 4 months to fulfill. Custom paint job, midnight blue that looked black until the light hit it right. Carbon fiber accents. Interior leather that cost more than most people's cars. $3.5 million for a car. I signed the paperwork on a Tuesday, the same day Tori posted about her incredible year of growth and gratitude to her 500,000 followers. The irony wasn't lost on me. The delivery was scheduled for Wednesday morning. I'd be at work, which meant the car would sit in my driveway like a question mark until I got home. In Pacific Palisades, expensive cars weren't unusual, but a Bugatti was different. A Bugatti made people stop and stare and ask questions. I went to bed Tuesday night wondering if anyone would notice. I woke up Wednesday morning to 17 missed calls from Tori. The doorbell rang at 9:47 a.m. on Saturday morning. I was in the garage, detailing the Bugatti with a microfiber cloth, wearing my oldest USC engineering t-shirt and gym shorts. The same clothes I'd worn through 4 years of being invisible. Through the frosted glass, I could see 3 silhouettes. Dad's broad shoulders. Mom's perfectly styled hair even at 10 a.m. And Tori's designer handbag that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. I set down the cloth and walked to the door, my bare feet silent on the heated marble floors, the same floors they'd never seen because they'd never asked to visit. Never asked where I lived. Never asked about anything. We need to talk. Dad's voice was tight, controlled. The same tone he used when discussing failed real estate deals. I opened the door wider, stepping back. About what? They walked in like they owned the place, which was ironic considering I'd bought it with cash while they were still making payments on Tori's lifestyle. The morning light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air between us. Mom's eyes swept the open-concept living space. The Italian leather sectional, the 85-inch OLED mounted on the wall, the Steinway baby grand in the corner that I'd learned to play during my silent years. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. "This is," she started, then stopped. "My house," I finished, "that I bought with my money, from my job, the one you've never asked about." Tori was staring out the back windows at the infinity pool, the outdoor kitchen, the perfectly manicured lawn that stretched toward the canyon view. Her reflection looked small in the glass. Dad cleared his throat. "Son, we had no idea you were doing this well." I walked to the kitchen island, leaning against the quartz countertop. The same countertop where I'd eaten countless dinners alone while they celebrated Tori's latest Instagram milestone at expensive restaurants. "I told you, multiple times. You just never cared to listen." "That's not fair," Mom said, her voice already taking on that wounded tone she used when confronted with uncomfortable truths. "We've always supported your career." I pulled out my phone, opening our family group chat. The evidence was all there, time-stamped and undeniable. I started reading aloud, my voice steady and calm. June 15th, 2020. Got promoted to senior product manager at, and I named the company Mom, full company name. Youngest person in company history to reach this level. Pretty excited. Your response? I looked up at her. A thumbs up emoji. That was it. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Outside, I could hear Mrs. Chen's dog barking in the distance. The same Mrs. Chen whose innocent neighborhood post had started this whole revelation. September 3rd, 2021, I continued, scrolling through the messages. Bought my first investment property. Duplex in Pasadena. Closing went smoothly. Dad's response? Nothing. Radio silence for 6 days. Then, when Tori posted about her yoga certification, you both wrote paragraphs of congratulations. Tori turned from the window, her face flushed. We didn't know these things were so significant because you didn't ask. The words came out sharper than I intended, but I didn't soften them. When's the last time any of you asked me about my work? About my life? About anything that wasn't a yes or no question at family dinner? Dad shifted uncomfortably, his real estate agent polish cracking slightly. We knew you were doing fine. You never seemed to need... I never seemed to need what? Attention? Recognition? Basic human interest from my own family? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Do you know what I do for work, Dad? Actually do? He opened his mouth, then closed it. I manage product development for AI systems that serve 2.8 billion users globally. I have a team of 12 people across 4 countries. I make decisions that affect millions of people's daily lives. But sure, I'm just doing fine in tech. Mom was crying now, mascara starting to smudge despite being waterproof. Jasper, please. We love you. We've always loved you. You love having a son, I said, the words I'd rehearsed in my head for months finally coming out. You don't love me. There's a difference. I walked them through the house then, room by room. Not to show off, but to show them what they'd missed. What 4 years of indifference had cost them. The home office where I'd taken calls with executives from Fortune 500 companies while they were at Tori's influencer brunches. The gym where I'd worked out alone at 5 a.m. before 14-hour days while they were planning yacht parties. The guest bedrooms that had never hosted them because they'd never asked to visit. In the master suite, I opened the walk-in closet. Rows of tailored suits for board meetings they'd never asked about. Watches that cost more than their monthly mortgage payment. Everything organized and pristine because I'd had no one to mess it up for. The startup I joined in 2022, I said, pulling out a framed certificate from my dresser drawer. The one Mom called risky. It was acquired 8 months ago for $800 million. My equity stake was 2%. I watched Dad's face do the math. His eyes widened slightly. $16 million before taxes, I said quietly. About $9.2 million after, plus accelerated vesting of my tech stock portfolio, plus salary increases, plus the real estate appreciation. The number hung in the air between us like smoke. Tori sank onto the bench at the foot of my bed, her designer jeans a stark contrast against the charcoal velvet upholstery. I don't understand. How did we not know? Because you never asked, I repeated, my voice getting quieter instead of louder. Because when I tried to tell you, you weren't listening. Because my accomplishments weren't Instagram-worthy. I pulled up her social media on my phone, scrolling to the yacht party posts from 4 years ago. 847 likes on the first photo. 1,200 on the sunset shot. 2,100 on the fireworks video. Your 30th birthday party trended locally, I said, showing her the screen. Tori turns 30. $85,000 for one night. Professional photographers, live band, chartered yacht for 150 people. I swiped to our family group chat from 3 weeks before her party. My promotion announcement. The one that changed my entire career trajectory. The one that set everything in motion. I held up the phone. Your response was nothing. Literally nothing. Not even a thumbs-up emoji. The silence was deafening. Outside, I could hear the distant hum of traffic on the Pacific Coast Highway, the sound of a world that had kept moving while my family had stood still in their assumptions about who I was. Dad finally spoke, his voice smaller than I'd ever heard it. We made a mistake. No, I said, setting my phone down on the nightstand. You made a choice. Every time you ignored my messages, that was a choice. Every time you left my achievements out of family conversations, that was a choice. Every time you assumed I was fine because I wasn't demanding attention like a yacht party, that was a choice. I walked to the window overlooking the canyon, my hands clasped behind my back. The view had cost me an extra $500,000, but it was worth it for moments like this. Moments of clarity. I spent 4 years trying to earn your interest, I said, without turning around. 4 years thinking that maybe if I achieved enough, saved enough, accomplished enough, you'd finally see me. But I realized something last week when Mrs. Chen's post went viral. I turned to face them, my family who looked like strangers in my space. You don't see accomplishments. You see spectacle. And I'm tired of performing for an audience that's not even watching. The Bugatti keys sat on my dresser, catching the morning light. $3.5 million worth of German engineering, but really just the first thing I'd bought that they couldn't ignore. 6 months later, I was sitting in my home office when my phone buzzed. A LinkedIn notification. Someone had tagged me in a post about Silicon Valley's youngest directors under 30. The article featured a photo of me next to the Bugatti, taken from Mrs. Chen's viral neighborhood post. The comments were interesting. Wait, isn't this the guy whose sister threw that yacht party drama on Instagram? Plot twist. Quiet Brother was the real success story all along. Family dynamics are wild. Sister's influencer career tanking while brother's running tech divisions. I scrolled through Tori's recent posts. Her follower count had dropped from 500K to 340K. The comments on her self-made entrepreneur posts were brutal. Girl, your brother bought a Bugatti while you're still asking mommy and daddy for rent money. The second-hand embarrassment is real. Maybe ask your millionaire brother for business advice? My phone rang. Mom. Jasper, honey, we need to talk about Thanksgiving. What about it? Well, your father and I were thinking, maybe this year you could host? Your house is so beautiful and I set down my coffee. You want me to host Thanksgiving? It would mean so much to the family. Tori's going through a rough patch with her brand, and your father's been telling everyone at the country club about your success. Now he tells people. Silence. Jasper, please. We know we made mistakes. Do you? Of course we do. We should have celebrated your achievements more. We should have paid attention. Mom. I walked to my window, looking out at the infinity pool. Do you know what my job actually is? You're a director of something technical. 4 years. 4 years I'd been climbing the corporate ladder, and she still didn't know my title. I run product development for autonomous vehicle systems. My team of 47 engineers is building the software that will power self-driving cars for the next decade. We're 3 months from a breakthrough that could revolutionize transportation. That sounds wonderful, honey. I've been promoted 4 times. I've spoken at 3 international conferences. MIT invited me to guest lecture. And you know what you said when I told you about the MIT thing? Jasper. That's nice, dear. Did you see Tori's new collaboration with that skincare brand? I heard her sigh. We want to do better. You want to do better now, because Mrs. Chen's photo went viral and suddenly, I'm not the boring son anymore. Through my security cameras, I watched a delivery truck pull up. My new Porsche 911 GT3. I'd ordered it in Miami blue, Tori's favorite color. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. Jasper, your father wants to talk to you about investing. In his real estate projects? He thinks with your success, maybe you'd want to diversify. I laughed. Actually laughed. Mom, I own more real estate than Dad does. The duplex in Pasadena? I bought it cash 3 years ago. The commercial building downtown? Mine too. I've been diversifying while you were planning yacht parties. The line went quiet. How much? She whispered. How much are you actually worth? I watched the delivery driver unload my new car. Does it matter? Would you have cared about me more if you'd known? That's not fair? Fair? I walked to my garage, where the Bugatti sat next to my Tesla and the old Honda I'd never sell. You spent $85,000 on Tori's birthday party. You know what you spent on mine that year? Nothing. You forgot it entirely. We didn't forget. June 15th, Mom. My birthday is June 15th. And you texted me, happy birthday, at 11:47 p.m. because Facebook reminded you. I could hear her crying now. I have the screenshot, I continued, right between your posts about Tori's party planning and her outfit choices. Happy birthday, sweetie, with a generic cake emoji, posted 12 hours after you shared 17 Instagram stories from her celebration. Jasper, please, I'm not angry anymore, Mom. I was, for a long time. But anger takes energy, and I needed that energy to build this life. The life you're suddenly interested in now that it's Instagram-worthy. The delivery driver was walking toward my door with paperwork, another $250,000 car to add to the collection. About Thanksgiving, I said. I have plans. Plans? I'm flying to Tokyo. Business meeting with Honda's autonomous vehicle division. We're discussing a partnership worth about $200 million. Silence. But if you want to celebrate something, Tori's birthday is coming up. I'm sure she'd love another yacht party. Though you might want to check her current follower count first. Apparently, brand partnerships are harder to land when you're losing influence. Jasper, I have to go, Mom. The Porsche delivery guy is here. Another car? Porsche 911 GT3, track-focused. I'm taking it to Laguna Seca next weekend for a racing event. Should be fun. I hung up and opened the front door. The delivery driver handed me the keys with a grin. Beautiful spec, sir. Miami blue is stunning. Thank you. I signed the paperwork, noting how the man's eyes swept over my house, the other cars visible in the garage, the pristine landscaping. If you don't mind me asking, he said, what do you do for work? I smiled. I solve problems. After he left, I sat in the new Porsche, inhaling that new car smell. My phone buzzed with notifications. The LinkedIn article was gaining traction. A reporter from TechCrunch wanted to interview me about Silicon Valley success stories. 3 headhunters had messaged me about CEO positions. But the notification that made me pause was from Tori. "Can we talk? Just us. No parents." I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "Why?" Her response came immediately. "Because I'm realizing I don't actually know my brother at all. And maybe I should." I set the phone down and started the Porsche. The engine roared to life, a sound that would have turned heads at any of Tori's parties. But I wasn't going to her parties anymore. I wasn't going to any of their events anymore. I had my own life now, my own success, my own chosen family of colleagues who actually knew what I did for a living and celebrated my achievements without needing a viral photo to pay attention. But as I pulled out of the driveway, I found myself thinking about Tori's message. Maybe she was different from our parents. Maybe she actually wanted to know me, not just my net worth. Or maybe she was just trying to salvage her brand by association. Either way, I had a Porsche to test drive and a life to live. The family who had ignored me for 28 years could wait a little longer for my attention. After all, I'd waited long enough for theirs.